Traditional weddings and funerals have long held an important place in Chinese culture. These traditions are not merely ceremonies, they are reflections of deeply ingrained beliefs about life, death, family, and society. They carry rich symbolic meanings and are closely related to Chinese ancestral worship, cultural heritage, and Confucian thought. In contemporary Chinese horror games, these traditions continue to play a significant role. Their visual and cultural power is often used to evoke fear and unease. But these traditions also offer something more, a window into how Chinese society views these rites in the present day. Should these age-old traditions passed down for thousands of years still be preserved and promoted? Is the core spirit they convey still relevant to modern Chinese society? Through the lens of the folklore-esque concept, this project explores how traditional Chinese wedding and funeral traditions can be reinterpreted in game design. By focusing on parody, the game Karma challenges the outdated and feudal elements of these traditions, shifting their role from one of evoking fear to one of critical reflection. To understand how Karma uses parody, we need to explore the concept of the folklore-esque as introduced by Foster and Talbot. This framework breaks down the representation of folklore in popular culture into three categories: integration, portrayal, and parody. Integration combines folklore elements into new creations. Portrayal depicts folklore through stereotypical or lagging images. But parody, the form we will focus on, mimic and critiques folklore, often using satire to challenge outdated or problematic traditions. To better understand how these forms of representation are applied in practice, let's look at some works that incorporate traditional wedding and funeral customs. Both Paper Bride and Ghost Feed use integration, blending traditional wedding and funeral customs with religious or supernatural elements. Laughing to Die uses portrayal, exaggerating rural funeral customs from the 1980s. These examples show how integration and portrayal are commonly employed to evoke horror through familiar cultural symbols. However, while parody has been effectively used in other cultural contexts, such as in George Orwell's Animal Farm, which critiques totalitarianism and Soviet-era communism, parody has not been fully explored or utilized in the context of Chinese marriage and funeral customs. To explore this area, Karma was developed as an experimental game using parody as the primary method to incorporate Chinese funeral customs into the game design. Instead of simply using these customs to create a haunted atmosphere, Karma intentionally exaggerates and subverts these rituals through parody, critiquing their underlying feudal and superstition elements. The game reinterprets these customs by weaving them into its narrative, environmental design, and gameplay mechanics. The story revolves around a family tragedy rooted in outdated superstitions, with the protagonist trapped in a ritualistic setting. As the player navigates the exaggerated funeral rites, the customs are pushed to absurdity, highlighting their disconnect from modern life. Parody is also embedded in the game's mechanics. Players must solve puzzles that mimic the overly complex and unreasonable of these traditions. For instance, the player is tasked with collecting funeral items representing the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, scattered throughout the game. The process is purposely made complicated, reflecting the cumbersome rituals that often come with these customs. Karma extends its critique through its visual and environmental design. Traditional mourning symbols such as talismans, wreaths, and funeral attire are exaggerated and clutter the scene, emphasizing the absurdity of blindly following superstition. By overloading the environment with these symbols, the game creates a surreal world where once revealed customs become tools for satire. By using parody in its narrative, mechanics, and environmental design, Karma transforms these customs from instruments of fear into vehicles for cultural critique, encouraging players to reconsider their relevance in today's society. As part of China's millennia-old culture, marriage and funeral customs are traditionally used in horror games to evoke fear. However, this study demonstrates their potential as tools for critique. By adopting the folklore-esque concept, Karma reinterprets this custom through parody to challenge their outdated, superstitious roots. Unlike other games focusing on fear, Karma uses narrative, environmental design, and gameplay mechanics to offer a critical perspective. It encourages players to reflect on the adaptability of these traditions in modern society. This approach not only expands the use of parody in game design, but also highlights how game can create cultural practices, pushing beyond simple horror to provoke deeper thought. In the future, participation in offline game festivals will provide a valuable opportunity to engage with a diverse audience of players. Through the practice-based method, I will collect critical feedback on both the game's design and the feasibility of incorporating parody as a reflective tool. Continued development and refinement of the project, contributing to a broader understanding of how parody can be effectively integrated into game design as a means of cultural critique.